Hey guys, today on Mind, Body, Mental, I'm going to do something a little bit different and a little bit scary because I've never really spoken out before, but I'm going to share with you guys my mental health journey because I think it's really important for you guys to understand my journey and how I actually came to create Mind, Body, Mental and the reason behind it, and just to show you how passionate I am and that I was where you guys were and now I'm trying to do something to help. And I'm a little bit nervous. My journey hasn't been easy. Everybody's journey, we got to remember, is different, and everybody's gone through their own thing and deals with things in their own way. So I'm just going to go ahead and share with you guys mine. I don't know how long it's going to go because I might end up just rambling or forgetting things and adding them in later, but I'll try my best. Thanks for supporting me and let's go. Okay, so we're gonna start off right at the beginning. So when I was little, like young primary school age, I was that kid that every teacher dreaded. Like, they're like, oh no, here we go again. I was always a handful. I never stopped, never listened, didn't stop moving, didn't stop talking, was always doing something, just it wasn't what I was supposed to be doing. The whole cliche of easily distracted and easily distracts others on my report card was kind of like a goal. And I think that's written on like every single report card that I've ever had. I was also that kid that everybody hated because, not trying to be cocky or anything, but I was good at everything, like physical, like any sport, anything. I was always doing it. I was always working, and I was just naturally good at all of that stuff. I was that kid who was training before school, after school, during school. At that time, during primary school, I was an elite gymnast. My poor mum would have to wake up at like 5 a.m, take me to training. I'd do my training and then I'd go from there to school, do my training at school, practice during lunchtime. Then she would pick me up from school and take me straight to gym, and I would do it again and again and again. I would not stop. I would get home, I would keep going, and I had so much energy, and every opportunity that came up, if there was like a school sport or an out of school, like into school kind of thing, I was there. I wanted to win. I would practice and keep going and going and going until I got to the top, and I was just one of those really energetic kids that was always doing something, doing like 20 sports and really into it, really energetic, never ran out of energy. And yeah, going into high school, about year 7, year 8, it was sort of the same thing. I was really excited for high school. There was so many opportunities for me. They had like a high school gymnastics team, cheerleading team, dancing team, aerobics team. I was into all of that. I was doing all of that. I was dancing in the dance room during lunchtime, recess, everything I could. I made so many friends. I really enjoyed it. I probably lost a few friends because I wouldn't stop talking, that sort of thing. Going into year 9 was sort of a different story. That's sort of when everything started going downhill for me. Yeah, year 9 was a very difficult time. All of a sudden, there was sort of just an immediate switch. I didn't want to do anything. I hated school. I hated going to school. All of a sudden, I had no friends. I stopped doing all my extracurricular stuff. I was still doing... At this time, I'd switched to cheerleading. I was still doing cheerleading, but I found myself crying on the way there. I didn't want to go. I hated it. I just wanted to stay home in bed. I didn't want to go to school. I didn't want to go anywhere. I just wanted to be alone. I didn't want to talk. I found myself getting really tired all the time. Like, I would go to school, I would come home, I would have a nap for like 3 hours, if you'd call that a nap. And then I'd get up, I'd have dinner, and I'd go back to bed, and I'd do the same thing the next day. I was just constantly tired, just constantly drained, and because of that, I was really moody. And I went to the doctors, got blood tests, and they were like, oh yeah, you're anemic, that sort of stuff. Got some iron tablets, got an iron infusion, nothing changed. All the while I was still, had no friends, wasn't doing any after school stuff, and was just hating life. Year 10 was the bottom of the barrel for me. It was probably one of the lowest points in my life where I was just so, at the bottom, and brought everybody down there with me. And it was a really, really horrible time. Year 10, I actually had no friends. I hated is an understatement. I hated school. My poor parents, I would have a meltdown every morning without fail. I would scream, cry, and do whatever I could to not go to school. My dad is FIFO, so when he was home, he would literally have to drag me out of bed and get me dressed and take me to school. But when he wasn't home, my mum does full-time work, so she was at work by 7 o'clock before I'd even woken up, and I would either ring her and have a meltdown on the phone while she was at work until she just went, oh, like, forget about it, fine, I don't care, I'm busy, that kind of stuff. Or I would just not go and then suffer the consequences later. Don't get me wrong, my parents are the best parents I could possibly ask for. They've been my rock through everything. That was one of the things that really upset me with this whole time, is I know what I was putting them through. I just couldn't help it, which will come more into it later. Anyway, yeah, year 10, I probably went to school maybe you're lucky 2-3 days of the week, every week. And when I was at school, I didn't do anything. I'd sit at my desk and I'd either cry, I wouldn't talk to anybody, I wouldn't do any work, I would just stare at a blank page. I would hate everything. I stopped kind of going to after school stuff, and teachers were like, oh, if you don't rock up, you'll suffer the consequences. And I tell you, as bad as it sounds, I just did not care. I was like, cool, yeah, whatever, I don't care. Even sport class, which used to be my favorite thing in the whole wide world, I went to a private school, so we had to get changed, and I just didn't even have the energy or couldn't be bothered to get changed into my sports gear to do sports. So I just went, no, stuff it, I'm just gonna sit out. And I got in trouble constantly, and I just didn't care. So it got to the point where I was referred to the school counsellor. And I went to the school counsellor, and they were talking to me and they were talking to my parents, and doing the normal like school therapy stuff, trying to get to the bottom of it, how to help me, trying to construct a plan. They suggested for me to go and get outside help because I could only do school counselling if I was in school, which I was never in school. And so that's what we did. Against my will, actually. My parents organised a therapist, and I put up a fight. I did not want to go. I, again, had scream, cry, meltdowns, shook, bawled my eyes out, couldn't control myself, to the point where my parents would have to physically put me in the car and take me to therapy. And when I was at therapy, I would sit there, I would stare at the floor, and I wouldn't say a damn word for the whole hour. My parents were paying for me to sit there in silence, and they ended up coming in and talking to the therapist and doing my therapy for me, because I just wouldn't speak. And I would sit there and I would cry without a word coming out of my mouth. We did that for a solid while. We did that for a good few months, when my parents went, this is not working. We can't force her to talk. They tried everything. They were in my room every night during every meltdown, just tell us what's wrong. Is something happening? Are you being bullied? Let us know. And they were so good about it. They were like, everything is fixable. We can sort through anything, no matter what it was. And I was stressing the poor people out so badly that they were going from one extreme to the next, and they'd come in my room one night and be like, Lauren, are you pregnant? And I would just be like, no, get out, what the hell? And they would just come through all these extremes, we can help you no matter what it is. And I just shut them down and threw them out. And all that I would say to them, I would be having a meltdown, and all that I would scream at them is, get out, leave me alone, that's it. And they would sit on the end of my bed like, no, I'm not leaving. Come on, I'm here. And I would just scream at them, get out, get out, get out, get out, leave me alone, leave me alone. And that made me more upset, because that made me feel horrible. So nobody knew what to do to help me. And I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know what to tell anybody. And, I saw quite a few different therapists, and I got the normal diagnosis of, you're you have anxiety, you have depression. All you need is therapy sessions, you know, talk it out, talk to somebody, sort through it. Therapy, depression, anxiety. And I went to therapy and it did not do a thing for me. Please note, therapy works for so many people. It just wasn't my thing because this is personal. Yeah, and so it was just horrible. And then my parents went, okay, it's her environment, you know, we'll change schools. So I actually changed schools for year 11 and 12. I went to a different school and that was the exact same thing. Scream, cry, didn't go, just had a horrible time, horrible experience, and everything just continued. Now, fast forward a little bit, I think halfway through year 11 or maybe at the end of year 11. I have no idea whose idea it was. It might have been a therapist's idea, or it might have been my parents' idea. Somebody got me to go and see a psychiatrist. And I fought like I have never fought before because I'm like, this is just a new therapist. I'm going to have to start from the beginning again. You're just going to have to re-explain everything that I've ever been through. And I can't be bothered. Like, nobody can help me. I'm unhelpable. I'm just going to be like this for the rest of my life. After a while, we ended up going. And I reckon I was in there for like maybe 10 minutes before the psychiatrist just went, yeah, you have ADHD. And we all sat there like, what? Because my brother has ADHD and my brother is like polar opposite to me. And we have all the stereotypes of ADHD in our heads, like hyperactive, won't stop, really naughty, can't concentrate, won't listen to teachers. And I'm a really good student. I was a perfectionist. I got all high grades. I worked really hard. I was tired, sleeping constantly. I was not hyperactive at all. And I was just the opposite of all the symptoms. And we went, no, that's not right. And then he said, it's really unknown and a lot of people are uneducated about it, but ADHD affects males and females really differently. Like females can get really bad anxiety. They can get really tired, you know, like it's really hard. And we were just like, oh my God. And I got put on medication. And I tell you, probably a week after I started that medication, my life changed. I was bright, bubbly, enjoying life, loving every moment of life. Had so many friends, back into my extracurricular sport, and everybody was just like, what the hell? Like, oh my God. And like he was checking all my old reports and reading all the comments from like maybe year 1, year 2, and he was like, yep, so you had the hyperactivity here, and we're all going like, oh my God, of course, that sort of stuff. Like I never sat still and it just changed. And it was kind of like a lightning moment where we're like, oh my God, why did we not think of this? And I was just so over the moon, so happy. I couldn't believe it. Like I was sort of frustrated that I was like, I've gone through my whole high school life like this, so frustrated just about everything. And it was this easy to fix, but just nobody caught on. And what was going on when I was going to therapy and I was screaming at my parents to get out, I didn't realize till afterwards. But what was actually happening is, in my mind and in my body, I was unknowingly just so confused and so frustrated. And I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know why I was feeling like this, because I was actually having panic attacks every day for no reason. And I had no idea what that was, why it was happening, and I was scared. And my parents coming in going, what's wrong, what's wrong, what's wrong, what's wrong? And I couldn't tell them. But I felt like an idiot going, nothing's wrong. I'm just having a panic attack. I'm just crying. I'm just upset. And even if I did say nothing's wrong, you're looking at somebody who's on the ground shaking and crying and screaming and having a meltdown. You're not going to look at them and go, nah, nothing's wrong. She just did this randomly. Like, nothing's caused this. And that's what my parents used to say. Like, even if nothing's wrong, something must have set you off. Like, anything, a tiny little thing must have set you off. And I'm just sitting there like, no, like, this is so random. And so I got sick of doing that. So in the end, I just ended up screaming at them, get out, get out, get out, get out, because I didn't want to explain to them. I don't know what's happening. I don't know what to say. And so I just put the defensive wall up and was like, get out. And that's what I was doing in therapy. In my brain, I'm like, why am I sitting in therapy? Because in therapy, You talk about your feelings. You talk about what's going wrong. You make strategies to cope with what's going wrong. And how am I meant to go into therapy and sit there and go, nothing's wrong, I'm fine? Because I'm obviously not fine, but I am. If that makes sense, like, nothing was physically wrong in my life, but mentally I was not okay. But I didn't know how to explain that. I didn't know how to sit in therapy and go, nothing's wrong, it's just happening. Because I felt like an idiot, and I thought they're gonna look at me like an idiot. And you can't go to therapy and say, I need therapy, but nothing's wrong, because that's just not how it works. Anyway, it's been quite a few years now that I've been on my medication. I'm on anti-anxiety medication and ADHD medication, and it's important to know that that's not a fix. Like, I still have my down days. I still have panic attacks. But my life is overall so much better. I can deal with things. I know what's going on. If I'm having a panic attack, I can deal with it. I know the coping. I know what's happening. And that's really important. And so for so many years, you know, I see things on mental health and I see things online and I'm like, yeah, no, that's really good to know. I see other people dealing with mental health stuff and, you know, I'm giving them advice, like friends and family and stuff. And then I sat one day and I was like, imagine how many people I could help by actually doing something instead of sitting, knowing I have all this information and I have all these strategies to help people. And like, why wouldn't I go out and help people and educate people? Because if other people were educated when I was going through what I was going through, maybe somebody would have picked up that I had ADHD and it wasn't just normal anxiety and depression. And I wouldn't have gone through all that extended time of being so frustrated and so confused. So if I can help educate people on, you know, what I went through and all the different things to look out for and how to fix them and how to cope, then even if I can just help one extra person, I would be happy, because I know that that's what I would have wanted when I went through stuff. And I know when I was going through stuff, there was so many people looking at me at school like, oh my God, she's so weird. Like, she cries all the time. She's just upset. We don't want to go near her. And that was really hard for me, because maybe all it would have taken to have a good day would be someone to come up to me and be like, hey, I know what you're going through. Why don't I just sit here and listen? So yeah, that's why I've created Mind Body Mental, is to help anybody that I can. I really want to get my story out there. I really want to educate and make mental health understandable and relatable, because so many people just chuck these giant words at you and nobody has any idea what they mean. And so that's my aim. I just really want to help people. I really want to, you know, educate people, make it understandable, and just help anybody in any way that I can.